Greetings, everybody. Now, I am Graham Sumner, and I am the founder and leader of the Self-Reliance movement, and I'm here to just give a big, all-encompassing presentation on Self-Reliance Helensburgh movement. So let's just get started right away, and it's going to take you through absolutely everything that we are about, our desires, our goals, and ideas, of just ways we're going to better our local community and rise above these polarised debates across the country and in Scotland. So let's get right into the slide show. So, saying self-reliance and self-determination. Now, why do I say this? I say this because we currently in Argyll and Bute make up 30% of the whole population of the council. The second largest council area in the whole of Scotland. So we are, of course, the biggest tax base. Now, if you look at all the other single settlements across Argyll and Bute, Isla Mull, Bute, Isla and Jura, Dunoon, stuff like that, there's none of them that are making up 10% of the population as a single settlement. Whereas us here in Helensburgh to the Peninsula, Cardress, the Fast Lane facility, we make up 30%. So we definitely have the means and the money to be self-sufficient, and we have the land, we have the talent in our population to run ourselves. And because we are underrepresented in the council and we are very treated as problem solved, I feel like we already run self-sufficiently as it is. So to go that step further, where we on a national level as our own council get to determine what is best for our local community. And this is why this is our saying, and it just encompasses that feeling of, we do have ultimately the talent of our people to be ruling ourselves. So let's move on, let's crack into the actual presentation. So our goals and desires. Now I've just touched on, Helensburgh to the Peninsula, and what does that quite mean? So our biggest standpoint is we are here to campaign and found a new national council, which, as you can see in this picture here, encompasses that map. So from Cardress to Gaellochhead, the Peninsula, Arica and Fast Lane. And for another number of factors, apart from the ones I've already mentioned, there's great reasons to pursue this. And through our history, we've always been either Western Bartonshire Council or, most recently, in recent history terms, Argyll and Bute. So I think it's about time we take our own course, since we live in such a unique situation. So as you can see the bullet point there, the creation of a new council to serve the needs of all people in the Helensburgh and surrounding area, including Cardress, Gaellochhead and the Ross and East Peninsula and the Fast Lane vicinity. So, another desire, creation of a Helensburgh tourism campaign in line with an expansion of attractions and representation of local history to uplift our area as a major tourism spot, i.e. the Road to Highlands project. So I'll just read this and go into a bit more elaboration and just off the brain thoughts. So the Road to the Highlands project is a tourist route to the Highlands from Glasgow, designed to show the history of the last urban towns before hitting the Highlands. The route features will be based upon ancient history, shipbuilding history, town history and military history, starting in Clydebank and ending in Arica, which other tourists travel through Clydebank, Old Kilpatrick, Bowling, Milton, Dumbarton, Cardress, Helensburgh and Gaellochhead. In order to make this route attractive to tourists, we'll need to create more attractions based upon our history and establish more attractions en route around the history of the shipbuilding history and the histories of World War II, World War I and World War II. So, you probably think, why is it to pursue this? Well, our current tourism industry is severely lacking, and there's a multitude of factors for that, but stuff like the Waverley steamship that would be one that's obviously decreased, bringing people in. But obviously with new leisure facilities, there's been the ability for coach buses to arrive in now, and usually you just get your day trippers from down south or even other parts of Scotland. I saw the other day, and they're just coming in, going to shops. They might know about Hill House. Go to a Hill House. That is it. They spend a day, spend a couple of quid. Might get coffee or something in a Costa, so that money isn't necessarily even going into our local economy. So I think it's paramount with such a rich history as a old Victorian leisure town, and with a land of great creative minds and innovative minds, and a people of inventing things. It's paramount that we just found upon this great history that we have, and not only capitalise it but make it known to us, because there's a few attractions around that area that the majority won't even know about. For example, I live at Colgrane, Craigendorham way, and then there's a mountain, well, technically a mountain, a small hill in my eyes, Benbury, and around that near the Cameskin estate, the old one that's been turned into flats, there's actually an old Victorian walled garden that has essentially been untouched. And around it you can see, trees like monkey puddles and like a pond with tons of bamboo, and it's pretty sad because every time I go it goes more and more overgrown and you can't even reach it. But yeah, this town, not just Helensburgh but the surrounding areas, have always been a great hub of Victorian leisure and maybe even Georgian leisure, I speculate. But we obviously, because of the fast lane facility as well, we have a massive great history from a military standpoint, and we have so many brave men that came from here and still do come from here or come up here from other parts of the United Kingdom to serve our great military. So it's paramount that that's represented. So not only it capitalises a tourism market for people to come into, but just so we're knowing our own history, and the local youth and people moving in, they have a really vibrant historical place to be proud to live in. So let's go on to the next. Pretty same and simple. Become equal from nursery level to S6 and beyond, providing all youth equal opportunities in their education. And the easiest way this can be done is ensuring all subjects available in both Hermitage and the Lomond School are the same and of the same level of standard, ensuring all the youth in our area are given the great same level of education our area has to offer for the next generations who will go on to run our country. So as you know, obviously, Hermitage Academy is our state high school. Lomond is not. It is private, and it's one of the very few, if not the only, in the whole of West Scotland, I believe, rural West Scotland, to actually still running this boarding and private basis. And obviously looking at the subjects available in Lomond compared to Hermitage, there's a drastic difference. And people that go there who are fortunate enough to have the families to pay for have a greater advantage in their learning opportunities than, say, Hermitage. Now, that's not to criticise on Hermitage. Hermitage is a great school. I've been through it myself. The main issue, I'd say, is the variety of subjects. It's severely lacking. I remember my whole time through school, there was only burs about the mention of a new Italian course for the whole year, whereas all the subjects stayed the same. Not real much availability for specialisation. Obviously, I'd have to look into this myself, or somebody can tell me in the comments that Lomond greatly has more specialisation, and even if not, they'd have a greater degree of more elaborative education in all their subjects compared to Hermitage. And I just think that's given an unequal advantage to fortunate youth and an unfortunate youth. But even in recent years in Hermitage, with the modern apprenticeship schemes being done, stuff like maritime engineering and all this, just sees anyone who does these be, forced to be going into Glasgow and, it makes those youth ambitions be focused on moving out of Helensburgh and going into the city, or even in some cases going more rural. So it's taking the youth away from our local area. Now on to our next point is protection of wildlife and the land, marine energy supplies and sites by and for local workers, and wind and so on. So simply we aim to achieve this by pushing for the creation of more wind energy and solar energy in the local area. And you can see a picture there of roughly what I think that was a 3D created image, just to show, the lack of an eyesore a few wind turbines would do. I think even to a sense, in my own eye, actually looks quite innovative. Looks like our community cares. So it will cause such an eyesore, and as long as it's obviously not overcrowded, I don't see any issues. And I should there, like in the forestry parts, for example, if some of that was taken away and that was just exchanged for solar sites, I feel like there's no issues there, and if anything, is more beneficial to our community. So, like it says, there are sites to be built on already de-wild sites. And what do I say? When that de-wild sites is, for example, forestry areas where the native wild land's already been stripped away, to be used for forestry. And if people don't know, that much, like forest, but briefly, because of the using such a compact area, it ruins the soil. So wildlife thrive, and ultimately just goes extinct in that little microculture. So, like I say, stripping away forestry, which these every years, 15 years maybe, the return from them as an investment is severe. So I think it's definitely in sites that are already have the wild stripped away from them, so we're not creating negative impact on our wildlife. So yeah, as it says, they're mainly tree-grown sites. Like say, ensuring don't further destroy wildlife. So I mean, point here, we need to strike energy that's wildlife sound, and you got in our local area, especially up like local, it's almost like a desert just because of how it is. Go into factors, stuff, predators, that kind of the next one, and another one that's in line with the last point, climate change. So it's farming and a deep climate harming livestock farming to ensure maximum use of our farming land to produce greater amounts of food to provide the west region of Alapa with cheap locally sourced food. So these lands have limited fertile soil to grow crops, and when I say these lands, I mean the whole of the country, to an extent the United Kingdom as a whole. And we are quite gifted with the fertile soils that we have. So, they should be maximised to grow more production instead of wasting the land for animal farming, especially with sheep. I mean, we're talking barely breaking even with selling lamb meat. Mutton's not really going anywhere. Is not a profitable enterprise anymore. So it's adapt to the times. It changed a long time ago. So I mean, that's part of my personal experience. Around 10 or so animals on farmland once on the stretch for hundreds of meters, and part of the main road from out of Helensburgh past the new estate, uh, all of that left and right, it's just desert land, really. It's just grass for horses as well. That seems quite problematic because we're at least going to graze animals. There should be something that brings something to society, not only economically, but if you're products. Like I'm saying there, just imagine the large mass amount of food that could be produced with all those meters. I mean, if even 50% land that's used was to minimum production, we could be £1,000 a good economy. For the farmers themselves, this is not an attack on farmers at all. It's just to purely see the fragile, fertile soils that we have, which we make very long, especially the harms that grazing brings. I think it ought to be done properly. That benefit from it to our full potential, not only economically but environmentally. And imagine 10 more jobs in the production of these crops, to the farming of them, to the whole process. I mean, it's really immense. All be local, all be within our own community. So the youth always have a guarantee that there is a place for them right at their doorstep. And then also we'd have ourselves as a local community proud that into animal deaths or climate change. The great amount of food produced in our area would, with the right policies, could make food produced from these crops cheaper for the country, but definitely for us local. I mean, look, sort of schemes like Farm to Fork, several different like that locally, you would, without a just falling down. Were based local government and a community council trying to take that to heart, trying to make it for everyone involved. I just think it's a win-win for the whole community. Now getting into a more health side of things, plastics. Now that's crucially including electric single-use devices, which the biggest example of that is vapes. And then, in line with a campaign for an enforcement of a national ban. Now we're seeing progress in this way. Talks from the Westminster government, and of course Scottish government take that. I don't see why I get to that. But as far as it's coming now, all we're seeing is that the pressure is being put on the vape companies, and all they're simply doing is using pastel colours on their colourful vapes instead of the bright and attractive ones, which of course is not going to do anything. The two incompetent in Westminster, it might well be the case that that's just accepted anyway, and that's job done. So we all of us here at the Self-Reliance movement, we believe it's an absolute must and a duty to our planet, but most importantly the health of humanity, to ban single-use plastics, because as we know they're extremely harmful for all living things on the planet. So banning them will ensure the good quality of health, and that companies must make the switch to economically safe solutions to their products, which of course is done. And as much as a lot of responsibility is put on the consumer, for recycling, or choose a paper bag instead of a plastic bag. When the Morrison's supermarket first came to Helensburgh, and then they rolled out the paper bags, immediately it had an effect. You see around the whole community, people going out to shops, the charity shops, or just carrying a barbecue or whatever. They reuse paper bags again and again and again. So there is still a massive importance on producers to provide us the choice to make the right choice. And I think when it is given, we do absolutely take it. And I think because we are so, close to the wildlife and importance, being on the sea, we know, what that means. And, we see all the rubbish on the beaches, so we know the absolute importance that it is to ensure we make the right choices. So producers, not just the individual, to make the right choices. Clearly seen at the moment of single-use devices, mostly quote-unquote disposable vapes, which contain toxic materials and are littered everywhere in every town and every street that I have personally seen. There is no doubt the products are reaching into our waterways and wildlife. It's inevitable to work without rest to ensure these killing products are not allowed on our local land. Because it's not only just about the environment, and we'll to a bit later that's another point of ours, but more crucially for the health of our fellow community members. Now, I think this might, but change the time, so I'll just crack. The development of a medical industry provided much needed medical use of ganja as a people opportunities for locals. I don't know already. In the as a whole, the government legalized medical ganja. 20,000 men, women, and crucially children with like diseases and all sorts throughout the whole United Kingdom are given this medical ganja to help them live functional lives. So it's not only been legalized, and a lot of people say, oh, to use this. 20,000 people in the UK, roughly so. And mind, this figure was taken about maybe a year ago, so that might be even higher now. Of people that do actually rely on this from the NHS. And there are hundreds on the waiting list for the plant to help them. However, the major concerns that the supply, and this is a major concern of us as well, but a lot of, and especially American studies, the UK's moved away, is that isn't would be like with most from the Netherlands that we use for the NHS, regulated, and the amount the NHS can provide is purely just because there's logistical nightmare. The health of these people is provide a great amount of best, safest quality, which we could go right here in the United Kingdom and right here in Helensburgh Lomond area. That there should be new ganja growing sites made in our community, should be ran and owned by government, regulation and security. And that's a crucial one. It would create competitive jobs. And even when you have an Argyle Butte council whose vision is to essentially bring outside Butte to live here, having competitive jobs such as within a very new ganja industry would community. And would also government to Helensburgh Council used greatly in the health of people nationally. And I've just finished there, and we will touch on it when we look at some of our national visions. I think this is massively a crucial one because it's something that really is not talked about enough. As cliche as it sounds, a lot of people say it is. Yeah, it holds so much scientifically found benefit. So, and we could leading the way for providing that, and it definitely gain much needed attention from the government, providing us funds, but just that we should have in the first place. Now, preparation funded by local government, religious open space, religion, providing all religions and spiritual individuals space to gather, pray in line with a campaign for a rollout of said spaces nationally. All religions play a massively positive role in society. Connection standing between these should be worked upon, and that's something that's massively lacking, especially in tense times right now. Always tense times when it comes to religion lines. So the only problem is from our community. It's too difficult to practice as there's no gathering places or places the same can connect and grow together in worship. Connection and of a gathering place where no religion is in management and all can gather in a judgment-free structure for us all. We should all know that our community beliefs. There have been many different. The biggest example is Temple that has been there for numerous years. Great stuff for our community. This shows they have the massive capability to move forward in this field. Communities, Hindus, or Jews, and if there's any Rastafarians, the peace camp potentially, and any other religion, a permanent public space which they can rely upon to gather and overcome any religious boundaries and spread understanding of each other in the community. I think that's especially crucial for the youth here as well. Okay, raising up the local volunteers massively here. They don't get it. Need more appreciation. So connect groups such as beach cleaning groups is the big example that we could come up with. Together, connect them together, encourage cooperation and integration among such groups. The unpaid kind work of the few members of our community that commit their time to protecting the wildlife and beauty of our green lands and shores is undervalued by most of the community, as their work goes unseen, and by most the result is taken for granted. Especially such work is undervalued by the current council in place in our area, with no recognition or thanks given to these amazing groups of people. This must change. Not only to give such people the deserved recognition, but place value in such efforts to encourage more, especially among the youth. Of appreciation we might receive in our community might be the Helensburgh Advertiser or Facebook groups as we made. No real recognition, thanks given by the council, despite there being that civic centre right there and down the road from Central Square, which I just think it's a massive undervaluing of people that just, not because of me I'm paid, but just the effort to what these amazing people do, just so the place looks nice, and it's something you walk down the streets, you don't even particularly think about, but you take a minute, breathe it in and think, wow, this is something someone else does, and you've got to be thankful. Issues that a lot of individuals, crucial point, and not collective groups. Current groups I have seen are mostly separated based upon location and a small scale with no publicity. Now, why I say that? Beach cleaners is the best example. Or, for example, we'll have like Friends Park, Friends of Duchess Woods, Friends of the Guston Gardens. It'd be based upon each particular park or wood. And then with the beach cleaners, you have just Colgrane as one. So we're literally where the train station is, and that's one group of people. Then you got Gaylord Head, then you got Shandon, then you got Rue. It's just, I feel like it's too separate. One ambition, the one goal. So the encouragement of creating based upon the volunteering work. So like I say, Beach Cleaners United, Friends of parks and woods be united, and just general, just based upon character of the work, would allow for increased publicity of these amazing works of kindness in person and online. Also, a creation of one platform or a social media, which is a major platform, as the name will have a single place. Contact for all these volunteering groups in our area, making it easier as ever to join in with these brilliant people to make a noticeable in a local society. This, in line with big scale cooperation with local schools, volunteering schemes will greatly help the publicity of our volunteer groups to the community and involve our youth in improving the quality of living in our areas. I think it's utmostly crucial involved. I think it's just a great thing to build skills, but just getting out there socially and just finding an appreciation for what voluntary work does and what they can do as voluntary work, and hopefully grow these volunteer groups. We've got a new spring in the step of new generation of volunteers across the local community. I think would be absolutely grand for our community. Desires. So when I say national desires, what we mean by this is simply can we push for, things that we advocate for nationally. Because, we are a localist movement. We are just here for the local issues. We are here just for Helensburgh. So we're not seeking to become MP, MSPs, we're just here for Helensburgh and from the organ and just better this community. That's all we're about. So these national desires are just small points, and I'll just read them as there is. I won't elaborate too much because I think this PowerPoint says everything you need to know anyway. So the passing of a ban on using, buying, selling of alcohol, tobacco and all vape products until the age of 21 to ensure the health of the youth, in line with outright banning advertising of all said products. It is major important for us to place our next top of our concern. For if the health and life of the next to lead and to move the country aren't a high standard, then our societal standards will fall and fail. This is why the quality of health of our children needs to be protected by ensuring we make it impossible for our youth to fall victim to addiction and harmful substances. It's widely accepted that humans fully develop by the age of 21, so any harm under 21 will negatively affect development and health, and the health passed on to their future. At least educated on what is harmful to be put in their bodies or not. Wrapped most of the global population in another cage. Amount of people being under 18, 21s, most saying they started vaping with no past experience of smoking, showing that vapes are not here to help smokers, but to addict a whole new generation to a currently legal drug with the colourful packaging, flavours, easy use and influence they have upon social media. If we as a society moved on from smoking to then fall into another drug trap, is there much hope for our children's health? I ask you that. All harmful substances or drugs shouldn't be a part of the lives of children, health and the long-term health of the population as a whole. And I think that is pretty basic. You've got to be some sort of a lesser moral standby statement. Now the next one, scale development of a thriving nationalised ganja industry. It's science we can prove the amazing potential for the health to the masses. We have the amazing opportunity to replace the king and vaping in this country with benefit and natural plant. But also, crucially, ganja has many uses, from crafting clothes, ropes, bags, etc., to the production of a grand medicine and ultimately a grand job/money creator for our area. For thousands of years in history, ganja has been used as a common crop and commodity across the globe. Why should we let ourselves be stopped from farming a brilliant all-benefit commodity which holds the power to uplift our community and country? That's a A rhetorical question for you to think upon. To make our local community a capital for producing ganja, improve job opportunities here. To establish ourselves as the main producer in the whole country, which has a low competition in this industry, places on the map and raises up to the investment list of government. This is also a great self producers duty in providing a much needed medicine to our great NHS and fellow citizens which are in need of this. The full legalisation of ganja would also allow for recreational use and the sale of recreational ganja, creating a massive opportunity for a grand creation of tens of millions in tax income for the whole country, not only benefiting us in our public health, but our economy, to fund more into public services for the betterment of the whole. We can mostly all agree, and I would be shocked to find someone that would not agree with this, that we would all much rather be creating more money from the economy through the production of a medicine instead of the deaths caused by alcohol and tobacco intake. Amazingly too, the fool would save our government millions, because the laws placed on ganja is a big money sucker for the government, with the police needing to spend large amounts of taxpayer money to enforce these mean restrictions on a plant. Removing restrictions means that this money could be pushed into more vital efforts for our great police force. Now, end of private education nationwide. Tag on children's education is an act which creates and encourages class division and inequality in every part of our society. One of the worst evils that could be done to societies is creating a barrier to all education where the only means to access is money. Different tiers of education where parts of it are free and the better parts are only for the wealthiest is still an evil done to society, and I passionately, and all of us here at the Self-Reliance movement, believe the way to transform humanity for the better is at the root through education. Everything can be traced back to education. The problem can be solved by education. In times such as who we need the most are the well-educated in order to save our planet. It's only a righteousness act to allow ourselves and the future generation that we provide great level of without the. It is so unfair for us to live in a society where one can achieve more than you simply because of family. It makes no sense to me or to any of us here for this injustice to continue being placed upon future generations. As we know, state education hasn't changed for more than 100 years, and still to this day is designed around producing factories for the business owners who instead taught to lead, create and innovate by their private education. That most changes are leading, creating, problem-solving society compared to one we live in currently. Another issue is that the island and Highland and Alapa have nowhere near the same opportunities in education as the rest of us in the Central Belt. Education should be standardised for the whole nation, allowing for children in the Shetlands to be given the same grade level education provided to children in Edinburgh. This standardisation of education would mean that everyone would be educated at the same level than all other children, in providing every individual the same great education provide to them. Remove British nuclear weapons out of our power while current military personnel and facilities remain. Now, as you can see in that picture with the different circles, that is, I can't quite remember what nuke example we used, but that is if a nuke was dropped on Faslane base. It's terrible on a nation, the whole of Scotland, and obviously the variant of ash would the United Kingdom, but the green and then the yellow to the red, that's us. That's all of us living here, gone, annihilated, simply just because nukes are stored there. Not but because they're stored there. Most of the nukes there for the United Kingdom. So pro-nuke arguments include that nukes are here to protect us. However, for us living next to the base, we know this isn't true. Storing most of the United Kingdom nukes in Faslane puts our community on the target map for any military looking for war with the United Kingdom, and this is obviously massively topical at this current stage, pretty much ensuring that a whole area would be destroyed in the event of a strike on Faslane. So it's one of the reasons to get rid of them. On a more national level, nuclear weapons are not a normal for the world's countries. Most nations do not have nor need them, and they survive perfectly without them. Nukes don't ensure peace among nations. The Russia and Ukraine war has proven this, and it only takes a tiny amount of nuclear warfare to the world's atmosphere and nuclear ash. Most life on the planet, and I'm sure we all know this already. Why would we want to store such dangerous, meaningless weapons on our front doorstep? The money used in order to keep nukes functioning and watched over by the forces is a great waste of our local money. Why maintain a weapon which isn't used and is never meant to be used? Why waste the limited time of highly trained military personnel, where instead we can use their skills in order to protect and manage the country's armed forces and protect us, the people of the local community. Removing the nukes out of Faslane, keeping and reusing the current facility will allow us to keep the vast majority of jobs currently in place, ensuring that there will not be a vast exodus from our community. Keeping our facility allows we can redirect its use as the Navy and Marine capital of Aleppo, ensuring that the nation and local community are protected by the amazing, brave and committed personnel here in our area. Really good debrief. I know a lot of that was really, really heavy, but here we are as our main viewpoints. So nukes have no place in Aleppo. Nukes should neither be stored nor transported through, and nor should nukes ever be produced in Aleppo. Aleppo has the moral right, more than any other nation, according to the UN, to self-determine their future by having the choice to choose between independence or remaining part of the United Kingdom. However, myself and this entire group will always to being neutral on the debate, as our goal is to provide for mine and your local community, and we seek to unite our community and act above this now polarised debate, which is toxic. All forms of education should be the highest standard possible and available for everyone, any charges, and provided by the state without any influence from religion. Every being, regardless of any other, is equal regard, and every war should never be an option of any group of peoples unless the survival of said group is threatened by an aggressive force. Neither China or America looked upon as role models, because as a global agendas and seek different groups of people, acts in order to enforce these desired agendas. Ideas have already been proven to providing for all peoples of the world. Social media doesn't only not care about your personal data, but care about aims to addict them to the platform negatively. Health, time, family time, self-image, the list goes on. I believe all social media should be restricted for children, and that exposing children to such harmful platforms should be a punishable offence. All known harmful drugs should be restricted to all persons under the age of 21. It's already covered this. There is absolutely a need to end using fossil fuels globally to ensure the survival of our planet. All workers involved in the production and supply of these fuels that would lose employment should be given the opportunity to retrain for the new green energy industry, ensuring that no worker from the fossil fuel industry is left behind without meaningful employment after the end of fossil fuel production. Aleppo should be a global thinking nation with aims to grow long-lasting unity. Importance and investment should be aimed towards mainly Africa and all of our European brothers and sisters. As most know, China will, for many reasons, will not act as the world production capital forever, and importance needs to be put towards the states of Africa as the fastest growing populations in the world. It only makes sense to push investment and meaningful diplomatic relations towards these African states for the betterment of our society and the society of the whole of the African Union. The United Kingdom should be given the right to decide whether it should keep funding a meaningless monarch or become a democratic republic with an elected head of state. All healthcare should be free for everyone who lives in Helensburgh and fully provided by the state, and no part of the NHS should be allowed to be turned private. Now, here are our 10 objectives, which simply you could say is our simple manifesto, if you like. This is what we're standing for. This is our life works. These 10 points are the boxes on our job list that we have to tick to be satisfied that we're doing right by ourselves and all other local community members. So here they are. You've probably maybe seen them on the socials already. You will do in the future, but here they are, and I'll read them out for you. Very simple, straight to the point. Number 1, to uplift our communities for improvement and development. Number 2, to better our community's tourism industry. Number 3, to provide our independent from any current council or political party. Number 4, to ensure our community never becomes dependent upon one mass employer or a single industry. Number 5, to ensure the freedom of our community's right to practice religion. Number 6, to provide all youth with the same great level of education. Number 7, to better the wildlife in the lands in which is their home. Number 7? Yeah. Number 7, to greatly reduce the litter problem. Sorry, that should have been 8. Number 9, to free our wildlife from the harm of single-use plastics. And number 10, finally, to create meaningful career opportunities for locals through job creations. That is us. I know that could be quite heavy and a lot, but that is who we are. Self-Reliance, Helensburgh movement. Movement for Helensburgh. That is who we are. That's the things we stand for. Those are the things we are going to fight for. These are the things we are going to struggle against to ensure that it's provided to you and all of our local community members here in the Helensburgh and Lomond area. So please do follow the socials. We are currently on YouTube as you're watching this video. We're on Facebook and we're on Twitter. Now, the plan is I just thought I'd off the cusp video on YouTube, so it's already got a punter for everyone to look upon, to read about us, know who we are when we're spreading info and graphics on social media. But this particular presentation was made for an in-person audience, and that is the aim in the near future. Probably more thinking like logistically wise, probably not until the start of next year now, springtime, maybe February. But yeah, we will start making several in public presentations of this document in several venues across the local areas to get that message out there and, you know, gather a crowd. Events coming up, so just keep in tune for that. And the YouTube channel potentially going to be like podcast interviewee format production, but I'm going to start doing videos like the Helensburgh advertisement. So, you know, how we comment on the Helensburgh advertiser. There's some podcasts and Argyll Butte Council that I'd like to deep dive, break down, critique. There's the annual business plan, there's the corporate plans that we need to break up and, you know, reveal how, you know, undervalued and under attention to we are. And that is going to be the format of a video, is just getting out that message that the truth is the current council we are in is just their interests and their priorities, and rightly so, are aligned towards rural Highland Island communities, and we are just not one of those. And I'll simply leave it at that. So that is us, the Self-Reliance movement for Helensburgh, your localist movement for Helensburgh. Thank you.